The country club dining room smelled like truffle oil and quiet money. Grandma's 80th birthday party. 43 family members, white tablecloths, centerpieces that cost more than my monthly studio rent. I'd arrived late from the studio, paint still under my fingernails despite scrubbing. Navy dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. Trying to look respectable. Uncle Mark spotted me immediately. There she is, he announced to his table. Cousins, their spouses, people who worked in finance and law and real estate. Our family artist. The way he said artist made it sound like a communicable disease. I smiled. Hi, Uncle Mark. Still painting. He adjusted his Patek Philippe. I mean, it's a nice hobby, but you're 32 now. Maybe time to think about a real career? You have that business degree from Georgetown. Complete waste. My cousin Lauren laughed. Mark, be nice. I am being nice. I'm being realistic. He leaned back, gesturing with his wine glass. You know how much VPs at my bank make? Base salary $340,000. Plus bonus. Plus stock options. And she's selling paintings at farmers markets. I wasn't at farmers markets. I hadn't been for 7 years. But I said nothing. It's embarrassing, he continued. Frankly. For the family. My colleagues ask what my niece does and I have to say she paints. Like we can't afford to support her properly. The table laughed. Uncomfortable, polite laughter, but laughter nonetheless. I felt it then, that old familiar heat. The shame that had lived in my chest since college when Uncle Mark first started these speeches. When he told me art school was financial suicide. When he'd mocked my gallery assistant job as playing with crayons for minimum wage. When he'd announced at my 30th birthday that I'd peaked in high school. For 12 years I'd internalized his voice. Every painting felt like evidence of my failure. Every sale felt small. Every gallery show felt like pretending. I'd built a career anyway. Slowly. Quietly. But I never corrected him. Never defended myself. Because part of me believed he was right. The woman beside me had been silent through Uncle Mark's speech. Mid-50s, elegant black suit, silver hair cut sharp. She'd been looking at her phone, but now she looked up. Excuse me, she said. Uncle Mark turned, smile automatic. Yes. She extended her hand to me. Dr. Margaret Chin. Smithsonian American Art Museum. Chief Curator. The table went quiet. I shook her hand, frozen. Yes. Dr. Chin. I didn't realize you'd be here. Your grandmother invited me. We've been corresponding about your retrospective. She smiled. I wanted to meet the family. Your work has been transformative for our contemporary collection. Uncle Mark's wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Dr. Chin continued, calm and matter-of-fact. The retrospective opens March 15th. Invisible Cities, 12 Years of Urban Landscapes. 43 pieces. Your largest work, the Pittsburgh series, will anchor our main gallery for 6 months. That's wonderful, I managed. The acquisition was significant. We don't often purchase entire collections from living artists under 40. She scrolled through her phone. The board approved $1.2 million for the acquisition and exhibition costs. Cousin Lauren dropped her fork. The sound rang out like a gunshot. Dr. Chin looked up, noticing the silence for the first time. Oh. I apologize if I'm discussing business at a family event. She glanced at Uncle Mark. You must be very proud. Uncle Mark's face had gone the color of skim milk. The Smithsonian, Dr. Chin continued, typically features established artists. But your niece's work, the way she captures economic displacement through architectural decay, it's remarkable. We've had inquiries from the Tate Modern and the Guggenheim about touring the exhibition. She showed me her phone. Images of my paintings in ornate gold frames, hung in the massive galleries I'd only seen in textbooks. The Pittsburgh series, 6 years of documenting demolished row houses, lit with professional museum lighting. We're hosting the opening gala on March 14th, Dr. Chin said. 300 guests. Several collectors have already requested studio visits. I hope that's manageable. Yes. Manageable. Wonderful. She smiled. Your grandmother mentioned you might bring family to the opening. We have space for 20 guests on the VIP list. The museum director specifically wants to meet the family that supported such talent. The table was silent. 43 family members at surrounding tables had stopped their conversations. Everyone was staring. I looked at Uncle Mark. "Which bank did you say you were VP at?" I asked quietly. His jaw tightened, that little tell when he was trying not to cry. "First National." "That's nice," I said. Dr. Chin glanced between us, sensing the tension. "I should mention, we're coordinating with the National Endowment for the Arts. Your niece received their Emerging Artist Fellowship. $75,000 grant for next year's work. Quite competitive. Only 12 artists selected nationally." She pulled up another email. "And the MacArthur Foundation called last week. I can't discuss details, but they're very interested in your trajectory." She looked at me. "You should expect a call in the next month." The MacArthur Fellowship. The Genius Grant. $800,000 over 5 years. Uncle Mark set down his wine glass. His hand was shaking. "I'm sorry," Dr. Chin said, noticing his expression. "I'm being rude discussing business. You were talking about careers." He smiled at Uncle Mark. "What do you do?" "Banking," he said. Voice flat. "Wonderful. What position?" "Vice President. Commercial lending." "How interesting." Dr. Chen's tone was polite, dismissive. The way you acknowledge someone who just said they work in accounts payable. "My husband works in finance. Citigroup. Managing director." She said it casually, the way you mention someone's hobby. In the banking hierarchy, managing director was 3 levels above vice president. Uncle Mark's face went from white to red. "Well," Dr. Chin said, checking her watch, "I should greet your grandmother. She's been invaluable in coordinating the exhibition. Such pride in her granddaughter's work." She squeezed my shoulder. "See you next week for the catalog photo shoot?" "Yes. Thursday at 2. "Perfect." She smiled at the table. "Lovely to meet you all. You must be so proud of her accomplishments." She walked away, heels clicking on marble floor, leaving behind a silence so complete I could hear someone's watch ticking 3 tables over. Cousin Lauren spoke first. "The Smithsonian?" I nodded. "For how long?" "We've been working together for 2 years. The acquisition was finalized last October." Uncle Mark was staring at his plate. The silver fork. The half-eaten filet mignon. Like he was seeing it for the first time. $1.2 million, Lauren said. "That's what she said?" "For the acquisition and exhibition costs. I received $875,000. The rest covers installation, insurance, catalog printing, gala expenses." My Aunt Susan leaned over from the next table. "You got $875,000? For paintings?" "Yes." "When?" "The wire transfer hit in October. I bought my studio building. No more rent." Uncle Mark looked up. "You bought a building?" 6,000 square feet in an old warehouse district. I got it for $340,000. I paused. "The same as your base salary. Small world." His face went rigid. I should have stopped. But I'd carried his voice in my head for 12 years. Every time I'd doubted myself. Every time I'd felt small. It was his voice. "The MacArthur Fellowship," I continued quietly, "if I receive it, and Dr. Chin seems to think I will, that's $800,000 over 5 years. Plus the NEA grant, $75,000 annually. Plus sales. Last year I sold $240,000 in commissions. This year I've already contracted $380,000. I pulled out my phone. Showed them my gallery's website. Paintings marked sold, prices listed. $45,000. $67,000. $125,000 for the large-scale pieces. My average painting takes 2 months, I said. At 3 paintings per quarter, that's 12 per year. Average price now is $85,000. That's over $1 million in sales revenue. Before the MacArthur. Before speaking fees. Before the book deal." Cousin Lauren's eyes went wide. "Book deal? Yale University Press. They're publishing a monograph of my work. $150,000 advance. Releases next fall." The table was silent. Uncle Mark stood up abruptly. His chair scraped against marble. "Excuse me." He walked away. Toward the bathrooms. Or the exit. I didn't know. Didn't care. My Aunt Susan slid into his empty seat. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? Any of this. The Smithsonian. The sales. The everything. I looked at her. Because every time I tried, Uncle Mark made it sound like a joke. Like I was playing pretend. Like real success meant wearing a suit and working in a bank tower and making partner by 40. But you're famous, Lauren said. You're Smithsonian famous. That's actual famous. I'm not famous. I'm successful. There's a difference. How long? Aunt Susan asked. How long have you been at this level? 3 years for the consistent sales. 5 years for the major gallery representation. 7 years building the collector base. 12 years total since I started seriously. And you never said anything. I tried. At Thanksgiving 4 years ago I mentioned a gallery show in Chelsea. Uncle Mark said, gallery show, sounded like, bake sale. At Christmas 3 years ago I mentioned a sale to a private collector. He asked if it was my friend's mom. At Easter 2 years ago. Okay, Aunt Susan interrupted. Hey, I get it. He made me feel, I said slowly, like nothing I did would ever count. Like art wasn't real work. Like I was a burden. An embarrassment. Something to apologize for at cocktail parties. I looked around the table. I stopped telling people what I did. When you asked about work, I said, fine. When you asked about sales, I said, a few pieces. When you asked if I was making enough to live on, I said, managing. Because anything more detailed gave him ammunition. The ghost ledger, I'd started calling it. The emotional accounting beyond money. Years of family dinners where I felt like the cautionary tale. The college fund wasted. The degree unused. The career that didn't count. Every introduction where Uncle Mark apologized for my choices before I could speak. Every holiday where I sat at the kids' table well into my 30s because I didn't have a real job. Cost, self-esteem. Cost, confidence. Cost, 12 years of believing my work didn't matter. The psychological term is chronic invalidation. When someone systematically denies your reality until you start to doubt it yourself. I'd learned it in therapy. Spent 3 years unpacking why I couldn't accept compliments, couldn't celebrate sales, couldn't believe my success was real. Because Uncle Mark's voice lived in my head. Get a real job. On repeat. For 12 years. But here's what I learned. Family isn't who shares your blood. Family is who shows up when blood isn't enough. Grandma had been quietly collecting my exhibition catalogs for 7 years. Framing my magazine features. Following my career with the attention Uncle Mark gave to stock portfolios. When Dr. Chin reached out about the retrospective, Grandma connected us. Facilitated conversations. Invited her to this party specifically so the family would see. He knew. She'd always known. She just let Uncle Mark dig his own grave. Revenge isn't rage. Revenge is patience sharpened into strategy. I looked across the dining room. Grandma was talking with Dr. Chin. She caught my eye and smiled. Raised her champagne glass slightly. I raised mine back. Uncle Mark returned to the table 20 minutes later. Face composed. Professional mask back in place. Congratulations, he said stiffly. On the exhibition. Thank you. I didn't realize it was so significant. Most people don't. Art careers are invisible until they're not. He sat down. Picked up his fork. Set it back down. The thing about the Smithsonian. Don't, I interrupted. He looked up. Don't rewrite this. Don't make it about how you always believed in me, or how you were just pushing me to succeed. You called my career embarrassing. At Grandma's 80th birthday. In front of 43 family members. You meant it. His jaw tightened. The painting you called a hobby? I continued. That's my career. The job you said wasn't real? That's paying for my building. The life you said was embarrassing? That's being documented by the Smithsonian. I stood up. I need to talk to Grandma. Excuse me. I walked away. Toward the woman who'd actually supported my work. Who'd saved every article. Who'd bought paintings she couldn't afford because she believed in me. Behind me I heard Aunt Susan's voice sharp. Mark, what the hell is wrong with you? His response was too quiet to hear. Procedural justice. The consequences came in phases. Immediate, that night. Grandma announced the Smithsonian exhibition to all 43 family members. Showed them the catalog on Dr. Chen's iPad. Explained that she'd been supporting my career quietly for years. That she was proud. That she'd never understood why Mark was so cruel about it. Uncle Mark left early. Claimed a headache. Short-term within 2 weeks. Uncle Mark's bank sponsored local arts programs. Community outreach. Tax write-offs. Good PR. They'd been funding a youth arts center for 3 years. $250,000 annually. The arts center director called me for a studio visit. Wanted to discuss a collaboration. Mentioned they were reviewing their corporate sponsors. I was polite. Professional. Mentioned I'd be busy with the Smithsonian retrospective but would love to work with the kids sometime. He asked about my family. They were supportive. I said, some of them. The following Tuesday the arts center announced they were switching sponsors. Uncle Mark's bank was out. No explanation given publicly. Privately I heard from my cousin. The board had questions about whether the bank actually valued art or just used it for tax benefits. Someone mentioned that a VP at the bank had belittled a family member's art career at a public event. Bad optics. Uncle Mark's boss called him in. Asked if it was true. Uncle Mark denied it. 43 family members had witnessed it. 3 of them were board members at various arts organizations. One was a journalist. The story didn't make news. But it made whispers. In the circles where Uncle Mark needed credibility, donors, fundraisers, society events, whispers are worse than news. Medium term within 2 months. The MacArthur Foundation called. I was named a MacArthur Fellow. $800,000 over 5 years. The press release mentioned my background. The family that didn't understand art, the quiet perseverance, the eventual recognition. The Washington Post interviewed me. Asked about obstacles. I mentioned family skepticism. Didn't name Uncle Mark specifically. Didn't need to. The article quoted me. The hardest part wasn't financial instability. It was family members who treated my career like a phase. Like I'd eventually grow up and get a real job. It went viral. 47,000 shares. Artists in the comments sharing their own stories. Uncle Mark's name didn't appear in the article. But his friends read it. His colleagues read it. At the bank's annual gala, 3 people asked if he was the uncle. He denied it. But his face gave him away. Long-term within 6 months. The Smithsonian retrospective opened March 15. 300 people at the gala. The museum director gave a speech about supporting emerging artists. About families that nurture creativity. I'd put Uncle Mark's name on the VIP list. With 19 other family members. Grandma. My parents. Cousins. Aunt Susan. All 19 came. Uncle Mark didn't. He sent a card. Congratulations on your success. Proud of you. I threw it away. The exhibition ran for 6 months. 47,000 visitors. The Tate Modern confirmed the touring show. The Guggenheim booked it for next year. My career exploded. Commission requests. Speaking invitations. University lectures at $15,000 per appearance. I bought a second building. Expanded my studio. Hired 2 assistants. Uncle Mark's career plateaued. No promotion to senior VP. The Arts Center sponsorship issue had created questions about his judgment. His performance reviews mentioned professional discretion concerns. Not enough to fire him. Enough to stall him. I'm in my studio now. 7,000 square feet of north-facing light. Paintings in various stages. Sketches, underpainting, final details. 2 assistants prepping canvases. A waiting list of collectors that's 9 months long. The building I bought appreciated 40%. Worth $476,000 now. My bank account has $340,000. The exact amount of Uncle Mark's salary. I think about that sometimes. Last week Grandma called. Asked if I'd heard from Uncle Mark lately. No, I said. Should I have? He wanted me to ask if you'd come to Thanksgiving. Will he apologize? Long pause. He thinks he already did. With the card. Then no. He's family, she said gently. Family is who shows up when it matters. You showed up. He showed up to mock me. She sighed. You're right. I just wanted to give him the chance. You gave him 12 years of chances. He used them to tear me down. I know. We talked about other things. The Guggenheim dates. The book launch. Christmas plans. She didn't mention Uncle Mark again. I get emails sometimes from young artists. They've read the Washington Post article. They're struggling with unsupportive families. They ask how I kept going. I tell them, validation comes from the work, not from people who don't understand it. Build your career quietly. Let success speak louder than their doubts. And sometimes, rarely, let a Smithsonian curator introduce herself at exactly the right moment. Uncle Mark thought he was defining my worth. Instead, he defined his own. He wanted me to get a real job. Turns out I already had one. Mine just came with a museum retrospective. The people who made me feel embarrassed are now embarrassed themselves. Not because I humiliated them, they did that on their own. Meanwhile, I'm having coffee with Dr. Chin tomorrow. Planning the Tate Modern exhibition. Just the two of us discussing art history and legacy. Uncle Mark is having performance reviews about professional discretion. He thought he was teaching me about success. But success isn't a Bank VP badge and a Patek Philippe. Success is doing work that matters. Building something that lasts. Creating art that will hang in museums long after his quarterly earnings reports are forgotten. He called my career embarrassing. The Smithsonian called it transformative. I know which opinion I'm keeping.